I'm here to refute that the claim that the completion of State Route 241 will have a harmless effect on the surrounding environment. And I'm going to be refuting these with my claim, which is the completion of State Route 241 will be harmful to its surrounding environment. And I'll be backing these up with 3 secondary claims. The completion of SR 241 will affect the surf breaks on Trestle Beach. The completion of SR 241 will harm the serenity of existing parks in the area. And the completion of SR 241 will harm the endangered wildlife in the area. Number 1. The completion of SR 241 will affect the surf breaks on Trestle Beach. The speaker has said that the beach will be unaffected by the construction of the proposed SR 241. However, this information is credited to the TCA, which is a road building firm that has actually proposed this toll road for their benefit. Therefore, these are not credible sources. He cites RelieveTraffic.org, the tollroads.com, and the FTC South, and these are all created and maintained by the TCA, which is basically the company that wants to build the road. And although it may be true that the construction will not harm the surf breaks in terms of qualities of waves, the speaker has failed to mention the effect of pollution that will harm the water conditions. According to hydrology experts, Philip Williams and Associates, the proposed extension of SR 241 will result in water quality impacts. And no matter how good the surf breaks may stay, if the water conditions are bad, it renders the area useless to surfers. The same report also states that the TCA failed to adequately consider changes to sediment conditions that could have significant impacts at various and local regional scales and possibly alter the morphology of trestles and its surfing characteristics. The TCA claims that the breaks will not be altered with self-funded studies. However, independent, unbiased studies prove that it will. Second claim, the completion of SR 241 will harm the serenity of existing parks in the area. The speaker has said that the serenity of existing parks in the area will not be affected because the route is designed to run through a small section on the east side of Sound and Milfray State Beach Park, and this isn't true. The California Parks Department has concluded that it will likely be forced to abandon more than half of the park if the toll road is built. And no park can operate for its intended purpose with a 6-lane superhighway running through its center. The toll road's footprint alone would directly occupy 4 miles and over 320 acres of the park. The speaker also mentions that the sound walls will be constructed to quiet the noise of the highway. The 16-foot wall is merely a necessary solution to an artificial problem caused by the highway in the first place. And in reality, a 16-foot wall may block out some of the highway noise, but what it does even more effectively is become the dominant feature of the park. The California Parks Department, in a letter to TCA, wrote that it does not take an expert to understand that locating a multi-lane, limited-access highway within a few hundred feet of a secluded campground will so destroy the recreational value of the campground and sense of place as to render it valueless. The speaker also mentions that the highway will be located 385 feet away from the campgrounds, as if this is a far distance. But to put this allegedly far distance into perspective, 385 feet is 25 feet further than a football field from end to end. And if somebody wanted to hike and camp to get away from the noises of urban life, this will not be the place to go. This is closer to the freeway than most people's homes. And this will be similar to hiking on the hill that the 57 and the 10 is on. The completion of my third claim is that the completion of SR 241 will harm the endangered wildlife in the area. The speaker claims that the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services both claim that the extension of the freeway will not harm the endangered species. However, this is contradictory because Jane Luxton, General Counsel for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, is on record saying, "We thought it was a pretty clear decision," right after the rejection of the proposed toll road. The speaker also claims that the TCA has agreed to enhance the area in which these animals live in. The TCA has made similar claims before, only to create a failing infrastructure costing the taxpayers money to fix their failures. The SR 73, which is also designed and built by the TCA, promised runoff mitigation for this highway. However, the structure failed and had to be replaced with taxpayers' money. Even the newly installed mitigation system cannot keep up with the demands of the runoff created by the non-wicking surfaces of asphalt and still overflows during heavy rain season. If this similar structure is what the TCA claims as an effective means to enhance the area, the biology of San Mateo watershed is in danger. The water will sweep all the debris and oil from the highway surface and take it downstream where the endangered species live on a sensitive equilibrium. So with these three major claims, or secondary claims, the completion of SR 241 will affect the surface on Trestles Beach. The completion of SR 241 will harm the serenity of existing parks in the area. And the completion of SR 241 will harm the endangered wildlife area. I hope you guys agree with me that the State Route 241 is not a viable option in this location. Thank you.
All right, the main claims labeled. The secondary claims sound like they're yours and that you're going to be making applications to the advocate's claim. And I heard you do that in a few places. I don't know if it follows the structure exactly, and so that's something that could be clarified. In the debate that we're getting ready to do, you'll want to follow that structure a lot more closely. On your individual points, you signpost them pretty clearly. You challenge the credibility of the advocate's source. I do think that you suggest maybe conflict of interest, and I think you need a little bit more information on that particular point, although the evidence that you have at the end talking about promises that they've made in the past and their failure to pay off with those promises, like with the other toll road that they built and its drainage problems, I thought that was maybe a better way of challenging the legitimacy of the TCA in offering opinions. You suggest that your research comes from independent studies, but I don't always get the citation on those independent studies. I got the one on the from the hydrologists that talked about in very general ways about water quality, but it doesn't say that that's what's going to happen in this particular situation. It sounds pretty speculative. And then after that, I only get general references to them, so you need to make sure that they're a little bit more clear. The part about the park, though, I thought you did a very good job citing an authority on that that's highly credible. You've got a good illustration. The analogy that you draw on that particular situation seems pretty reasonable, and the conclusions of the Parks Commission or the Parks Department seems to be pretty damning information on that point. On the same thing with the third point on the wildlife issue, although it sounds less like it's about the wildlife and more about other environmental issues. We got the NOAA, who has their conclusion is contradictory to the way it's being presented by the advocate, and then you've got the example from the other road that they failed on. So I think that's okay. I'm not sure how much it applies to the wildlife issue that's being discussed. Good job of signposting. Like I said, I think you need to give the source citations a little more consistently. All right, thank you.